Does the Bible have more prophecies? Yes. Where is another prophecy? In the Old Testament. Last week, I described the first sentence of Genesis 3:15. Today, I will describe the second sentence. I'm going to read the full verse for context. I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your seed and her seed. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel. Crushing a head is a fatal blow. Striking a heel is not fatal. Jesus was crucified and died. Does that fit the description of Satan's blow not being fatal? Jesus was crucified and died. Does that fit the description of Satan's head being crushed? Remember, Jesus didn't stay in the grave. He rose again. So then the crucifixion turns out to be more like the striking of a heel. When Jesus rose from the grave, he conquered death. That really was crushing to Satan. Genesis 3:15 is linked to Jesus, who is the seed of Eve. Mary represents Eve. Eve herself is a woman. And Joseph represents Adam. Adam himself is a man. Mary, she conceived Jesus without a man. God enabled Mary to conceive without a human father. This is shown in the New Testament in Hebrews chapter 2, verse 14. Now, since the children have flesh and blood, he too shared in their humanity. Jesus became flesh, so that by his death we might destroy him who holds the power of death, who is the devil. When we sin, we are locked into the power of death. But through Jesus Christ, his death and resurrection, that destroyed the devil's power over death. When a human conceives and they give birth, the baby is human. Jesus, he was human, but sinless, completely and utterly without sin. The purpose for Jesus to be born was to die for our sin. His death and resurrection destroyed the power of death. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 16 to 17, God had warned man that if he ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, he would die. When the devil enticed Eve to sin, and she conceded, that act was sin against God, and it gave the devil the power of death. But Christ's death and resurrection annulled Satan's power of death. Once again, you have a prophecy from the Old Testament that foretells of something to come, and an instance in the New Testament where the prophecy was completed. So again, the Old Testament and New Testament are connected.